Okay, okay, okay. That's okay. Yeah. So in our last class, we had already done almost half of the story. That is uh, the final solution, and today we will do the rest, possibly. Okay. So let us read further. After we ended in the last class, she did not talk about Bhushan and whether he ought to remain alive or not. She had straightforwardly asserted that she was not prepared to die for her husband. If she had her way, she would not be entrapped by Promoter either. But she was ready for both if the child could be saved. She knew her death would not keep the child alive and had therefore decided to give in to promoters' machinations. So you can understand this. In the last class, I had talked about it that this woman practically was a mother, and her primary concern was the child. The husband, she now didn't bother about this man, Bhushan, because look at this. Uh, the husband is you can understand from what has been narrated. The husband is reluctant about working. Yeah, the situation is that it's really hard to find a job for the men. And also, this man was down with fever. But when promoter was approaching for a job to this woman, do you think Mullika's husband had, or rather, promoter was practically interested in working if it could be managed by his wife? I don't think so. And on the other hand, I said that once a woman bears a child, her primary concern is not husband, not the rest of the family, but the child itself. Therefore, look at this. You can look at this portion that is very important. She had straightforwardly asserted that she was not prepared to die for her husband. And if she had her way, she would not be entrapped by Promotai. But why she deliberately steps into the trap laid by Promoter? Because she knew that the husband was reluctant, and at this stand she had to take a stance to support the child. No one in the family was practically bothered. You can think about Thakurji, that is the promoter's sister. She was reluctant. She could die, but she could not work for the family. So no one was really bothered about. They were all ready to die. They were all ready to die without practically without feeding themselves, without working. But they were neither of them were ready to save the child. It was the mother whose primary concern was the child. And that is the problem. That is the problem in the whole thing, and that's why she knew her death would not keep the child alive and therefore decided to give in to promoters' machinations. Just consider, Thakurji, the three of us may be able to live with him. It's not such a shameful or sinful business. We won't look down upon you. We will worship you instead, she wrote. It was her last cry. I have the child to feed. I am somehow, I have to keep a position because I have a husband. The Thakurji, or rather Bhushan's sister, had no one practically to depend on her sanity. She was a widow. She did not bear a child, and therefore, it was a last request from Mullika to this woman. But what was the answer? Don't insist. I can't do it, said Asha desperately. So think about this. Just think about this. This woman, uh, she can die, but she cannot do it. And you can understand what was the job. And look at this. This portion is important. We want to look down upon you. আমরা তোমাকে খারাপ চোখে দেখবো না। খারাপ চোখে দেখার ব্যাপারটা আসছে। এখানে দেখ একটা ব্যাপার কনসিডার করতে হবে ভেরি দিস ওমান মল্লিকা ওয়াজ somehow becoming psychologically correct কোন জায়গাটা থেকে না she had to answer to the husband, she had to answer to the child. The husband is reluctant to understand the situation. She can die, he can die, but he cannot do anything, and he is not eagerly ready to do the wife anything else. যেটা হয় প্যাট্রিয়ার্কিক একটা সোসাইটিতে যেটা হয় আহ, প্রাণ যায় পরেশান না যায়, this kind of thing, all have them about uh, the stand, the status, but you cannot feed your wife and you want status. So this one thing. And the another thing is answering the child. When the child will grow up, the mother will have to answer. Because you know what happens in the family. Your mother, did he rear you up in a honorable way? No, she did all the shameful acts, all the sinful acts. So you know this happens. This happens. The same husband, the same Thakurji will do the thing, will poison the child against the mother. This happens in the family. Therefore, Mulika knew she had to answer. And that's why it was a last try to convince Asha, because Asha didn't have anyone to answer for. And well, practically she was not related to any one of the family members in such bond. But instead, if she would agree to earn for the family, Mallika said that we would uh, look upon you as God rather. Bhushan, who had been silent all the while, spoke sharply now. One must never lend one's ears to such talk. Then he dozed off again. হঠাৎ করে জেগে উঠে ওর কি মনে হলো ও বলে দিল এইসব কথা কান দিও না তো then he dozed off again. Like he will not do anything, let the child die, but others will not do anything else. The world, even his very existence, has turned remote upside down. Everything had become muddled in his mind. Mullika, Asha, Kokon, the milling crowds, the stench, nothing had any meaning for him. But for Mullika, a roof above the heads was primary need. So this man has already become reluctant. He cannot gauge out what is going to happen or what is needed to be done. He has become reluctant. He has just given up. But for Mullika, this giving up was not a question because she was a mother as well. Okay? She was a mother as well. In the afternoon, Promoter's car came and took them to a small two-storied building at the edge of the city. The house was situated in a respectable colony. You can understand the colonies of the refugees. I told you that when they lived together. So this was such a colony, and maybe in the colony it was established by Promoto and his men, so that the women could be given shelter together, and almost if you could, maybe in the whole colony everyone was somehow was entrapped by Promoto because they had to run their family. So in the afternoon, Promoter's car came and the guard at the entrance let them in. So you can understand the colony is guarded by a guard. So there was a watchman. That means you can understand that men like Promoto were taking advantage of these refugees, and those who would enter inside was always taken care of, was always guarded. Okay, they were given a room on the ground. The house had once belonged to a Muslim family who had fled when Promoter managed to cause a riot in the area. So you can understand, not every riot was caused by partition. Not every riot was caused by partition. Some riots were caused. কিছু কিছু রাইট তৈরি করা হয়েছিল in order to take the advantage of the situation, in order to take the advantage of the situation. So here we find that Promoto caused a riot in the area deliberately. And why? Because he needed this house. He needed this house to be made vacant by the Muslim owner. And if you, during the time of partition, could just create a violence, the Muslim family will feel insecure and thus. This was what Ramlochan was to tell Mullika to express his admiration for Promoto and also to evoke feelings of gratitude in her. So, রামলোচন ভাবলো এই কথাটা যদি বলে যে এই বাড়িটা প্রমথই জোগাড় করেছে রিফিউজিদের জন্য, তাহলে regarding Promoto, this women would have a high thought. Okay. Ramlochan wanted to press home the extent to which Promoto had gone to her help. So Ramlochan বোঝাতে চাইছিল আর কি to make him understand that what Promoto had to do in order to save or in order to help refugees like Mullika. As she arrived, men, women, and children of these families stared at Mallika with their dull, vacant eyes, as if they were zombies, dull, vacant eyes. They had nothing to say, they knew or had heard nothing. So this was the thing. They had nothing to say. Okay, they are really in a terrified condition. So they had nothing to say. এই অবস্থায় লোকে কিছু বলতে পারে না। But look at the next line. They knew or had heard nothing. A very similar situation. আপনি কিন্তু কিছু দেখেননি মাস্টারমশাই। When someone, এখানে একটা খুব সুন্দর গল্প বলি। এটা নিয়ে পরবর্তীকালে একটা কবিতা লিখেছিলেন I'm forgetting the name, Vichut something. So it's a rumor, ওখানে একটা rumor আছে, but কেউ কেউ বলে এটার প্রমাণ ডকুমেন্টসও আছে। During 1970s, যখন নাক্সালাইটরা মারাত্মক মাথাচাড়া দিয়ে উঠেছে, at that time, our Bengali legendary hero, উত্তম কুমার, ময়দানে উনি মর্নিং ওয়াক করতে যেতেন। And এই টাইমে কি করা হতো? In Maidan, or that area was literally vacant and full of grassland. So that's why the Naxalites were taken to that place by the police and they were killed there in shootout. So one such killing was witnessed by Mr. Uttam Kumar. And then the policeman came to him, and because they were sympathetic to the legendary movie actor, he was like a god to every Bengali during those days. They only said that just leave this matter to us and do not forget that you have seen nothing. So here also in this colony, The situation was almost same. The situation was that of pressure people. Each and everyone knew what type of business promoter used to run and how the women in the colony were being victimized day by day. But they knew or had heard nothing. Okay. The car's driver followed Mallika's family in and went inside a neighboring room. Mallika heard a girl grumbling, "You are so late. When will I go and come back?" What can I do? I don't own the vehicle, do I? So, Usdi Pachish, the driver, uh, came with Mallika's family. And then suddenly, another girl from the building, he is asking the driver that he was so late. When will I go and come back? So there is a going and there is a coming back in the car. So you can know what type of service is this. These are all escort service, like prostitution, a kind of you can say uh, uh, like hush prostitution, open prostitution, no, but hush prostitution. What can I do? I don't own the vehicle, do I? But the boss won't forgo the rental, will he? So boss के तो भाड़ा देते होगे ना. So that is the thing. Whether you can do the business or whether you can't, the boss has to be given rents. That's none of your business. The driver returned to the vehicle. A while later, Mullika saw a married woman, a few years older than herself, wearing a nice sari, get into the car. You can understand what is happening. She looked extremely dejected. The woman was dejected, and you can understand. Yes, practically the woman will be dejected. It is expected. Mullika could sense where the woman was being timid. So, as she said earlier, she was aware what was going to happen with her. She had known all about it in her days and nights on the railway platform, leaving among the multitudes. The boy and the girl had spoken to her in detail about promoters' various activities. She herself had seen how a girl or a woman returned alone in a short time, in an hour perhaps, clutching a few coins in her fist, filled with important rage. So they were being uh, raped, they were being turned into prostitution against their will, but they had to do it because they had to feed their family. That is the thing. That is the very important thing. I would say that we often think about patriarchy and we often forget about these women, what they had done. We often think that the male struggle was very important, the struggle for the job, they made themselves educated. But initially, what these women did, we forget about them, we forget what these women did for the family. And we cherish that this type of women are not accepted in the society. They are so-called bad women. But do you think that anyone turn into these type of jobs because she is willing to do it? Do you think that in this age, like the Rajput Johar system, that if you have to lose your sanity or if you have to lose your honor, then just what you have to do is you have to kill. But is it possible in these days? No, and obviously not for a mother, because the mother know that if she dies, the family will never take care of the child. And if you think that these women were doing this for the family, I would say in most of the cases, no, they were doing it. Manik has just gone into the typical human psychology, into the typical nooks of the psychology of a woman. She was doing it because she was a mother. Okay, it didn't matter to her anymore whether she was married, whether she had a husband, whether she had a family. No, it mattered to her that she had a child. and she had to confirm that the child is living. Anything may happen, but the child must leave, and that's why she must. Okay, she will fill herself with rage, but she will leave. Continue. But she had not yet found out that Promoto had hired a room on rent at a high price in a disreputable colony. So you know what is a disreputable colony? Red light areas, prostitute areas. Nor did she know that he would pocket the payment for the room, the car rental, the woman's fees, and a commission against the woman's earning from her temporary master. Mallika did not have an inkling of that. So, this is the important thing, you know. Mallika হয়তো ভাবছে that this women they had to go to a man or go to a man's house, spend an hour or two, and then return. And she will be given an honorable share of the money. But the problem is that she didn't know that she had to go to a red light area. That means you are going to a posh locality to a man's house. That is, in the public eye, or there is no direct problem, in that. There is no direct problem in that. In public eye, it is not problematic. But Afridi camera off call. So, that is the problem. Uh, you go to a respectable uh, locality and do the same thing, you do the prostitution, not so many people will mark you out as a prostitute. But when you have to go to a red light area, stay there, and do the same business, then you will be marked as a prostitute. এই জায়গাটা কিন্তু খুব problematic, you for a middle class housewife. She was ready to negotiate with her owner, and she thought that only the family will know, only she will herself know. But while she has to go to a red light area, now the world will know. Nor did she know that he would pocket the payment for the room, for the car rental. The problem is that Promoto would collect money for everything. The payment for the room, the car rental, the woman's fees from that man, and the commission also. But only Mallika will be given a small share of it. The rest will go to Promoto. That is the thing. You will victimize the honor of that woman. You will victimize the physical sanity of the woman. You will also victimize the trust the woman had upon you. Or you will also victimize the labor. I would say, quote unquote, the labor the woman was ready to pay against the wage. You will also victimize that. So you can have a communist reading, you can have a Marxist reading of this text, and you can see how even the men, the capitalist men, were helping to build the agency like prostitution in the society, and the agent of capitalism like Promoto was practically making these subaltern characters, making these proletariat characters victims. Okay, in latter class, when you will be in SEM 6, you will read about Marxism, and possibly I will be taking the class. Or rather, if you want to have one, then just যে চ্যানেলের লিঙ্কটা দেওয়া থাকে এখানে ওই চ্যানেলে যাবি, you will have all the classes on Marxism. I have Marxismটা খুব ইজি ব্যাপার নয় তো, it takes almost 6 classes to complete the theory. তো মার্কসিজমের ক্লাসটা আমি সিনিয়রদের সাথে নিয়েছিলাম, ওই 6টা ভিডিও ওখানে আপলোড করা আছে, you can understand. You can understand from there the hooks and nooks of Marxism. যদি পারিস তো একবার পড়ে নে। So, settling in hardly took her any time. So, she settled in. As early as she came in that house, she settled in. They had so little anyway. So, why settling? Because they didn't have anything. They couldn't just uh, come with anything from Bangladesh. But at last, there was enough space for Mullika to sit down with feet outstretched. That is really important, you know. In the Shialda station, they were living on a mattress. I would not say mattress, rather, on a plastic sheet. And that was the place for the whole family. Now they had rooms at least, you know. She spread the mattress for Bhushan and Kokun and dropped down hard against the wall. Her head would have burst were it not for the cushion provided by a mop of her unruly hair. So, drop down hard against the wall. মানে দেওয়ালে এটা কি বলবো এমন ভাবে বসলো দেওয়ালে আর পারছে না মানুষ when someone physically gives up তখন দেওয়াল ধরে বসতে গেলে যা হয় her head would have burst মাথা ফেটে যেত were it not for the cushion provided by the mop of her unruly hair মাথার যে অগোছালো চুল if that will work as a mop that will protect it তাহলে মাথা খুলে যেত she was perspiring heavily now ঘামছে because she knew বাড়ির ব্যবস্থা তো হলো now she had to do what he had to do. It was incredible how one person was openly carrying on the flesh thread, letting out rooms and renting out cars all at one go. How all of these were interconnected? এবার খুব ভাবছে এগুলো ইন্টারকানেক্টেড কি করে হয় সোসাইটিতে যে এতগুলো জিনিস একটাই লোক পয়সা দিচ্ছে লোককে ঘর দিচ্ছে প্রস্টিটিউশন বিজনেস চালাচ্ছে how this can be interconnected she had not believed him when she heard about it যখন প্রথমে প্রমোদের ব্যাপারে শুনেছিল তখন প্রথমে এতটাও ভাবেনি you know that is the problem because ও ভাবেইনি যে এইভাবে জিনিসগুলো হতে পারে ইট ওয়াজ মানে একটা লোক এত কাজ করতে পারে ও এটা হয়তো নিয়ে যাবে ঠিক আছে করা যাবে বাট নাও you know when she came she knew that it was almost like a jail you know যেখানে পাঠিয়ে দিল জেলের and it was very constructive সবাই জানে সবাইকে কি করতে হবে। The front door was ajar. A couple of women were scrubbing pots and pans near the common tap. A man about Bhushan's age stepped out of the room. In one corner, he was about to go out, but stopped in his tracks when addressed by one of the women. Dada, listen, I have something to tell you. It was apparent that the man had put in an effort to look presentable and was desperate to be out of the house. The girl had walked up from the tap, slim and dark. She looked as if she was older than the marriageable age. The girl and the man moved to a corner as the front door was wide open. Where are you off to now? She asked. To look for a job. Whereas, bring some medicines for Bodhi. Can't you see how she is suffering? If you can't get hold of medicines, bring some poison. What do you take me for, huh? Although the man had not raised his voice, the sound of a stinging slap bestowed on the sister's cheek reached Mallika's ears. Then silence reigned for a minute. The girl had reached the tap when a nattily dressed middle-aged gentleman, led by the housegirl, came up on the portiere. Dada is not in, the girl shouted for the portiere. Oh, I met him outside, but come here, I have something to tell you. Why have you come again? The girl asked as she walked up to him. Your brother said you will be thrown out unless the rent is paid in a couple of days. What can I do? He will pay when he can. Come with me for a while, let's see what can be arranged. No, I don't like going out. But you will be with me. Why be afraid? No, no. I will not go with anyone. Mulika had been watching the girl closely. She gurgled in anger. The bitch, she said to herself, not married, doesn't have a husband or a child, yet playing hard to get. Well, look at this. There are two sides of the whole incident. The door was open, and Mallika saw what was happening in the family next door. The man in the family was unemployed and he was going out for searching some job. The woman, that man's wife, Bodhi, was literally apparently ill. And this non why Mulika was angry was that this non like Asha, this woman was working, and the brother, she advised the brother to come either with medicine or with poison. The same thing, they were ready to die, but Mulika was not. Mulika loved to live at any cost. Mulika loved to fight for living. And that's why she's angry with this woman. एक तो কোনো husband নেই, even একটা বাচ্চাও নেই. Then why she is not ready to sacrifice this for the family? Yeah, or rather sacrifice this for the others, or rather sacrifice this for living. So this is the thing. This is the difference. This is the difference uh, between the others, or between some others, and the women like Mulika. Those who were ready to sacrifice anything in order to struggle to live, for them living mattered, and not for themselves, for their child, for others. And when they saw this type of women who were ready to die without doing anything, for this women like Mulika, what will you do with your respectfulness? What will you do with your honor if you just die? Then what is the need of everything? Then what is the need of the struggle? Then why did you come from that place to this place? Why did you migrate? You could have just taken the poison at that place. Migration করলি এত কষ্ট করলি, then why are you living in between, in the middle? So Mundita is a fighter, and that's why she gets angry at this. Promotho sent for Mullika that very day. He could not wait. It was not the driver with the car who came, but Ramlochan in a taxi. So for Mullika, the treatment on the very first day was special. He had also bought some rice, dal, fish, and vegetables for the family. Must I go today? Now, Mullika asked. Babu wants you to. It is just for a short while so that you can sit, chat, and get back quickly. So, it is like ওই আচ্ছা আরেকটু পরে কথাটা বলবো তাহলে আরো আরো ভালো বুঝতে পারবে ব্যাপারটা Babu wants you to, which is just for a short while, so that you can sleep, chat, and get back quickly. Bhushan was down with fever as usual. The child had gone to sleep. All on a sudden, Asha said, Bodhi, you stay and cook the rice. I will cook. So suddenly, a change we see in Asha. Suddenly, we see a change in Asha, that Asha is ready to go. Probably Asha thought that, or rather, probably Asha was beguiled by the rice, dal, fish, and vegetables, the payments. Okay, she thought that she could earn. And the thing, sit, chat, and get back. If that could earn that much, Asha thought, okay, she could go. Asha had been displaying signs of extreme restlessness ever since they had arrived the place. That means, you can understand the shift in the character of Asha. Possibly the same thing that Mullika was seeing was also seen by Asha. Ashaও বোধহয় একই জিনিস দেখছে and দেখে somehow she has changed. কোথাও গিয়ে চেঞ্জ হয়েছে আশা. Weak and tender-hearted, she felt pulled in both directions. Her nerves on the edge. কোন দিকে কি করবে বুঝতে পারছে না। একবার ভাবছে she should die, একবার ভাবছে no, she should fight for the family. Mallika grasped her hand. একটা মেয়ে হয়ে মল্লিকা ক্যান আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড দ্য ডায়লগ। Mallika grasped her hand. I will be grateful to you, Thakurji, if you go. That will make us, the abandoned people, come alive again. We will be indebted to you, dear. তুমি যদি যাও খুব ভালো হয় ঠাকুর। মানে লাইক ও যেটা বলেছিল যে তুমি যদি যাও তোমাকে ভগবানের মতো দেবে। তুমি যদি যাও খুব ভালো হবে and we will be indebted to you. সারা জীবন তোমার কাছে তোমার পায়ে পড়ে থাকবে। But Ram Lochan intervened, saying that Asha won't do. আশাকে দিয়ে হবে না, as it was Mullika Pramod had sent for. So there was no choice. Go, she must. Led by the news, she would have to take whatever path was destined by her. So ultimately, এটা ওকে করতেই হবে। এটার বাইরে আর কিছু করার নেই। ভাগ্য ওকে wherever her lot will take her to, he or she has to go. She has to take that path because she has agreed. Okay, এই নুজ কথাটার মানে হচ্ছে লাইক কি বলবো লুপ, মানে ফাঁস। তো ফেঁসে গেছে মনে হয়। তো ফেঁসে নাও নাও শি হ্যাজ টু গো। হুম। But Ramlochun intervened, saying that Asha won't do okay. Pramotha had a small, modern-looking, pleasant house all to himself in the suburb near the city. He smiled as he led Mullika inside and said, "I have called you here so that we can talk." তার মানে ওই you know, Pramotha knew that from tomorrow the women will be sacrificed to other men. But the first test will be reserved for him. So that's why he called Mullika to her home. যেটা বলতে চাইছিলাম। The first test. She wanted to try, he wanted to try Mullika at first, and then he would make Mullika available for the others. Obviously against payments. কথাগুলো শুনতে খারাপ লাগে, but these are the things, utter flesh business. Okay, I have called you here so that we can talk. We must get to know each other better now that we have met. সোজা তো বলা যায় না, come to my bed. So এইভাবে বলছে। Mallika could not object. Besides, she wanted to find out what kind of work Promoter wanted her to do. মানে ও এখন ঠিক বুঝে উঠতে পারছে না যে ঠিক কত দূর অব্দি ওকে নামতে হবে। Was it similar to the one the woman next door was involved in, or was it something else? কি কাজের জন্য যাচ্ছে? Next door woman যেটা বলছে মানে লাইক প্রস্টিটিউশন আর অন্য কিছু। Dressed in creamy clothes, filthy sandals, with unkempt hair, Mallika looked rather out of place in a colorful sofa in the tastefully decorated room. So you can understand this was Promoto, a man who belonged to a posh section of the society, and he was running the prostitution business, the flesh trade, and he was shamelessly victimizing the women who came as refugees, the women migrants. She felt as if she were a domestic help whom the master of the house had lovingly bid to sit on the sofa. বাড়ির কাজের লোককে যদি বাড়ির মালিক কখনো সোফায় উঠে বসতে বলে তাতে যেমন লাগে, এটা ভাববি না এখনকার সময়। নাও উই আমাদের বাড়ির ডোমেস্টিক মেয়েদের সঙ্গে আমরা একই টেবিলে বসে খাবারও খাই, চাও খাই, সেটা বড় কথা না। বাট মানে প্র্যাকটিক্যালি কিন্তু অনেক ফ্যামিলিতেই সেটা হয় না, অনেক ফ্যামিলিতেই সেটা হয় না। আমার বাড়ির ডোমেস্টিক মেড আমার কাছে আমার দিদির মতো। আমি তার সঙ্গে এক টেবিলে বসে খেতে, এক টেবিলে বসে চা খেতে কোনো অসুবিধা হয় না। কিন্তু অনেক বাড়িতে এখনো অসুবিধা হয়। অ্যান্ড সব থেকে বড় কথা, উম, অনেক বাড়িতে তো এদের মেঝেতে বসিয়ে রাখা হয়, আর সেটা এখনো। তো যদি তুই 1950s এর কথা ভাবিস তখন তো এই ডিফারেন্সটা আরো বেশি এক্সিবিটেড হতো, তাই না? সো দ্যাটস ওয়াই এটা ওর মনে হওয়া স্বাভাবিক যে ওকে সোফায় বসিয়েছে, বাট শি ইজ লাইক আ ডোমেস্টিক মেড। দ্যাট হার্ডলি ম্যাটার, কিন্তু সেটার কোনো এখানে দরকার নেই। ইন প্রমোথস আইজ হার emaciated looks took on the overtones of fidgeting tigress. So প্রথম মনে হলো এই মেয়েটা তো মেয়ে নয়, যেন বাঘিনী, tigress. The way she looked straight at him, her head raised, she seemed about to pounce on him, dig her teeth into his flesh. The idea of taming the wild creature and bringing her under his control thrilled Promoter. So Promoter found that this woman had a kind of rage within her, and therefore it would be very interesting to tame her. I have taken the entire responsibility of your family. Direct blackmail এর জায়গায় আসছে। Think about it. And direct blackmail. তোমার ফ্যামিলির দায়িত্ব আমি নিয়েছি। You have nothing to worry about it in that regard. I will not involve you in anything that may put them in harm's way. So আমি এমন কিছু করবো না যাতে ওদের কোনো ক্ষতি হয়। Such consideration can't be for the good, can it? Murlika silently thought. These consideration will not be for the good. That is, for a long time. For good means for always. No, this consideration will not be for always. You will work for me, Promoter said. Work for you? What do you do? Mallika asked, knitting her brows. She could not comprehend. Do I engage in one kind of work? আমি তো অনেক রকম কাজ করি. I am involved in so many things. No matter, have some tea. But before that, go and have a bath. Think, this poor woman has come to his house, and this man is directly saying, go and have a bath. He will find soap in the rack and pull on fresh clothes. I have kept them there. So while I will consume you, before that, you get dressed. Direct বলতে পারছেন, but that is the approach. Not today, Mallika demanded. Acha, dear girl, do listen to what I tell you, Pramod said, his voice affectionate. খুব নিচু গলায় ভালোভাবেই বলল। যা বললাম সেটা একটু শোনো যাবে। Mallika kept sitting, her shoulders erect, and looked at him steadily. What will people say if you are dressed so shabbily? Pramod said. লোকে কি বলবে যদি আমার বাড়িতে এরকম একজন মহিলাকে দেখে? That was an entirely different matter. Mallika thought এটার সঙ্গে ওর কাজের কোনো সম্পর্ক নেই। Rose showed her to the bathroom, rubbing the soap into her body in the brightly lit aroma of the bathroom. Mallika was hit by waves of nausea. খিদে পাচ্ছিল তাই বমি পাচ্ছে মল্লিকা চান করতে এসে সাবানের গন্ধে। Was it because she had not eaten anything? She could not fathom why she was, without rhyme or reason, assailed both by tears and laughter. So at the same time, she was laughing because suddenly from a plastic sheet at the Shialda platform, she was using one of the most costly toilets in the city. And she knew just after that she has to share bed with Roman. So she was in tears, she was in laughter, because she was losing everything and she was getting everything. She was losing everything that was philosophical, that was immaterial, and she was getting everything that was mundane, that was worldly, that was earthly. So that was the problem. Goodness, you do look nice. কি সুন্দর দেখতে তোমাকে. So you can understand the lusciousness in this man. The rather, I would say the Longput ব্যাপারটা, this man, uh, mm, this thing, uh, the I would say the lecherousness, the licentiousness in this man, this lecher, uh, how he is looking at this woman. Mullika returned in new clothes. The servant had already brought in some snacks and tea for her, and whiskey, soda, and a glass for Promoter. So you can understand. Homage, whiskey to build the ambience. Almost like you go to a prostitute's house, the same prostitute has now come to your house. Mallika had seen many drunkards in the railway platform, but it was the first time she sat face to face with one. Taking a big gulp, Promoto came and sat beside her after having drowned more than a few glasses in such a short span of time. রুমত্তর খেয়ে পাশে এসে বসলো Mallika had already finished her tea, drawing her to himself and pulling her close to his bosom. Promoto tenderly murmured, "It is how I want you. Come and be with me for a while, and then you can go back." So now, direct approach. I want you physically. He dragged her to her chest and said, "I want you physically. So do this favor to me, and you can go back." Suddenly, Mallika saw red blood came surging to her head. You know, like মাথায় রক্ত উঠে যাওয়া যেটাকে বলে. This man was doing this for this, and she had accepted the fact that Pramotha was going to engage her in prostitution. But she could not tolerate the thought that she had planned to enjoy her first. Like this first enjoyment was like a commission, was like a threat that I am the one to enjoy you first. So this man, he thought that at least had some conscience that she will thrash these women into prostitution, but that was a kind of help this man could do to these women. But only manage a job, she could manage a job, and what kind of job he could manage for them? The job of prostitution. But now he found that this man had another intention. First, she will be consumed by that man, and then he will let her go to others. That means this man will blackmail her labor, I would say, her physical labor, I would say. Prostitution is a labor against which or where your basic material is your flesh, and against that you earn wage. But this man will consume that for free, will take it as a commission because he had managed this women to earn in such a way. So now Mulika is enriched because she could find that the intention, although was bad from the very beginning, but the intention was pathetically bad, utterly horrific. The commission taking thing that she could not take. Breaking free of his arms, Mulika caught the bottle with both her hands and brought it down on his head with fierce strength. The bottle splintered and Promoto went limp. অজ্ঞান হয়ে গেল. Mulika stared at Promoto's unconscious form, or maybe he died. She was utterly bewildered. Her eyes looked aflame. চোখ জ্বলছিল, the fighter in her. A servant came out from behind the closed doors. Babu, did you call for me? No, go away, she ordered. ওই বলল যে না চলে যাও. Mallika looked around. Promoter had only lost consciousness. He was not dead. Could not she finish him off once and for all? Was there a gun in the house? But she did not know how to use it. Should she beat him to death with its muzzle or wring his neck in the folds of a sari's end? She thought for a while. She took off the sari that Pramod had gifted her, then rolling it into a rope, she slipped it over his head like a noose, ফাঁসের মতো যেভাবে ফাঁসের দড়ি দেয়, tightened it around his neck, twisted and turning it with the help of the mouth of the soda bottle. Pramod would not die that soon. It took Mallika a good 15 minutes to strangle him to death. ওকে কেউ পরফিরিয়াস লাভার পড়ে থাকলে খুব ম্যাচ পাবি যদিও খুব মানে প্যাথেটিক্যালি অ্যাডভার্স দুটো সিচুয়েশন বাট ফাঁস দিয়ে মারা. She loosened the knot, unrolled the sari, and slipped her hands into his vest pocket and took out words of banknotes. ওর প্যান্টের পকেটে হাত দিয়ে পায়জামার পকেটে হাত দিয়ে সরি ভেস্ট জামার গেঞ্জির পকেটে হাত দিয়ে কি বার করলো ব্যাংক টাকা. Okay, some of it was meant for her surely. শুধু ওকেই পে করতো। But why not take the rest as well? She thought. বাকিটাও নিয়ে নাও। Because she knew that এটা তো ওকেই pay করা হবে। Collecting her bundle of dirty clothes, Mollika stepped out of the room and shut the door behind her. Don't go till Babu sends for you, she told the servant. He grinned and said it was fine by him. Oh, ঠিক আছে. Ramlochan could not be seen anywhere. He had known he would not be taking Mallika home that night. রামলোচন তো ভেবেছিল আজ রাতে আর মল্লিকা ফিরবে না। There were two armed sentries at the gate. Promoter had feared for his life. So প্রমথর নিজের জীবন সম্পর্কে ভয় ছিল because he knew that he was engaged in these type of business. And therefore, there were guards. He had good reasons to. Recalling she had come in a cab, one of the girls asked her, "Shall I call one?" "It's not necessary," Mallika replied. "Certainly." Asha trembled in fear at the terrible picture Mallika made. "Oh," she uttered. Mallika gave her a big smile. "I have found a way out, Thakurji, the final solution." So that's where the final solution comes. Now, Promotho is no more. Promotho is dead. So these women in this colony are free, these families are free to search respectable jobs for themselves. But on another case, men like Bhushan are reluctant to work, and therefore the final solution is work for women, employment for women. And initially, at every society, the primary employment for women were prostitution. That was the final solution. Asha grew more frightened. "Are you out of your mind?" "Oh, perhaps I am, but but I have found an excellent way out. That gangster, he taught me, he had got me to carry on his clandestine trade. What did he take for me for? Am I weak just because I am a woman?" So think about it. He thought he had got me carry on his clandestine trade. ও ভাবছে আমি ওর ব্যবসায় নেই, এবার ও আমাকে কি পেয়েছে? "Calm down, Bo. Sit down, I beg you. Have you cooked, Thakurji?" Mallika asked, settling down. "Have you all eaten? Let me have some food." "সবাই খেয়ে নিয়েছো? My stomach is turning violently in hunger." She let out a hearty laughter. "We will never be hungry again, Thakurji. Never ever. My son will have milk 4 times a day. I will go to the railway station every evening in my red sari. The sharks will come again to pick me up for sleep." So, the final solution for a woman is employment, anyhow, because employment will pay her to provide food for her children. And historically proven, at any stage of history, the first social employment for the woman was prostitution, and the same final solution was given to Mullika by the circumstance. And lowering her voice, Mallika said, "But this time I will be carrying a sharp knife with me, you understand, Thakur? I will hide it so that no one finds out." So think about it. Prostitution, এইখানেই একটা পার্থক্য. Even here she fights. That is, she almost makes herself a killer, you know. She knows that she is not going to, I would say, adjust with her honor, with her sanity. Every time a male shark from the patriarchy will come to bite her, she will stab that person, kill that person, and fetch the money. She will fetch the money from the mouth of the patriarch, and she will feed her child. She will feed the family. She will be the bread earner by stabbing not the lecherous, but also by stabbing the bites of patriarchy. Prostitution existed because patriarchy wanted it. And she was a rebel. She will go inside the mud, but will not lose her sanity. Will kill the one, the shark of patriarchy that will come to bite her, and will also bring the money to the family. So that was her protest. That was her protest, and that was also a kind of employment. You know, so that is what the final solution is. Go dig yourself into the mud, find the solution, do something good for your family, and also do something good for the others, for the women like her. Killing one such lecherous patriarch will mean 100 women will survive. She was trying to do that. Okay? So that's all. I hope you have understood this. Samarthi?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, so I'll stop presenting here. So today, this is our class. এই স্টোরিটা থেকে যে ধরনের কোয়েশ্চেন গুলো আসে সেগুলো আমি একটু বলি। জেনারেলি মল্লিকার ক্যারেক্টারটা আসে। হুম, মল্লিকার ক্যারেক্টারটা আসে ডিফারেন্ট লেয়ার্স। আচ্ছা, ফেমিনিস্টিক রিডিং অফ দিস স্টোরি। ওকে, যেগুলো আসে সেগুলো হচ্ছে ফেমিনিস্টিক রিডিং অফ দ্য ফ্রম দ্য পার্সপেক্টিভ অফ আ উইমেন, মল্লিকার ক্যারেক্টার, অ্যান্ড ফাইনাল সলিউশন এজ এ পার্টিশন শর্ট স্টোরি। সো সেখানে পোর্ট্রে করতে হবে ফ্যামিলিটাকে পার্টিশন ভিক্টিম হিসেবে। আর একটা আসে দ্য কোয়েশ্চেন অফ ট্রাস্ট অ্যান্ড বিলিভ। ঠিক আছে, এই চারটে কোয়েশ্চেন আসতে পারে। বোঝা গেল? এই চারটে কোয়েশ্চেন একটু স্টোরিটা থেকে রিড করবে, রেডি করবে। করে যদি কারোর মনে হয় যে আমাকে দেখাবে, ইউ ক্যান অ্যাজ ওয়েল শো মি। ঠিক আছে, আর এই যে তিনটে লিঙ্ক দিয়েছি এখানে আরেকটুখানি পার্টিশন ভিক্টিমদের অবস্থা, তাদের সঙ্গে প্রস্টিটিউশনের কি সম্পর্ক। And if you have Joya Chatterjee's Spoils of Partition, go to the second chapter about the regarding the migrants and search for the women migrants. There you will find. Okay, so with these, just make your answers. ঠিক আছে, I hope এই গল্পটা শেষ হলো। নেক্সট ক্লাসে we will be doing Alam's own house. Okay, ঠিক
Okay.
আছে?
Thank
Okay,
you.
sir.
Okay, so today we leave here, huh?
Okay, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Ah, welcome, welcome. Okay, chalo.